Good evening. Welcome to the May 22nd, 2019 meeting of the East Long Meadow Conservation Commission. Pursuant to Mass General Law, we are recording this meeting, and LCAT is taping the meeting. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please identify yourself and your organization. Nobody's here, so we will move on. First item is there was a letter that came in for the 244 Shaker Road. I'll entertain a motion to continue that to our June 12th, 2019 meeting.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Other than there was really not a lot in his letter, just asking to continue it. Because they were addressing comments from the DPW engineering. It was a letter that came from Rob Levesque. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item is 101 Old Farms Road. I'm assuming they're coming.
He just went back to his car.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they're probably trying to find parking.
No, he was at the door, but
Oh,
he
he was.
forgot something. He had to walk back to his car. It could be a little bit.
I'll entertain a motion to take the agenda out of hand and move to the other business, distribution of the open meeting law handouts.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You guys were at a seminar or something recently? Or?
Take a look and pass this on.
Is there one for everybody here? Or?
No, there's just one copy.
Oh, okay.
Is that what we got in an email?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there anything new and exciting that was learned that we should know about?
Well, people go to open meeting law training so that they can refresh their memory or just refamiliarize themselves with the open meeting law. And there are always questions from the audience, and it's very helpful if you attend, or you really, it's part of what you all should be familiar with as you conduct your public hearings. And they offer seminars on video. All of these information is free. You simply have to register. But as far as the webinars go, there is one tomorrow that if you have, as I mentioned in my email, if you have an opportunity or have free time to do that, do enjoy. They'll go over it. So it's it's something that I would highly recommend to all boards and commission members, just simply as a refresher.
Don't we have to do don't we do the yearly test on?
Conflict of interest.
Okay.
Conflict of interest and the ethic, yep.
Open meeting law is like every other year or something like that. But some of the things like this, I guess me just speaking personally, I wouldn't mind getting the handout for it.
Okay.
Just because
So
I'm
you
not
want
going to be,
paper?
I'm not going to be burning my printer up at home printing things like this.
You don't save things to your file folders on your computer? I thought you wanted
I do, yes, but certain things I,
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Do you want one paper?
I don't need one. Tomorrow, what time, just refresh my memory, I know I got the email. What time?
12 to 2, I think.
12:30 to 2?
yeah.
I think it was an hour and a half. I think it was
something like that.
12:30 to 2. But
Right now, I'm just gonna try to do that tomorrow, but myself.
I know that the town clerk is trying to arrange for open meeting law training to come to everybody. I'm not quite sure if he's worked out the logistics yet, and all members of all boards and commissions will be invited to attend. But Denise Menard will probably be sending notification, or Marge LaRocca, to let you all know and know when it's going to be available here at the town. Thank you, thank you.
When they sent me my renewal reminder to get sworn in again, I was reappointed.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
When they sent me my
You having a party?
reappointment, if you'd like, I did get it, they did send a copy of the open meeting law, paper copy of it,
Okay, good, good.
so.
So we're trying to, again, it's just helpful, you know, things happen, things do change, there's some minor changes, they did make some minor changes to the law, or some changes to the law, and again, I find it helpful to go to these sessions. Yeah.
Never know too much.
Okay, moving back to the agenda. Item number 2 on old business, enforcement order for 101 Old Farms Road, AKA Lot 26. Hey, Rob.
How are you?
Good, you?
Great. So a tripod, you think? Probably, right? New setup tonight. Not used to it. Square. We set it up in the back so everybody can see it in the TV too.
Yeah, probably.
So it's going to be a little tough for you to see that, so I'll try to do my best. Explaining it. All kinds of goodies for you.
Just passing that.
So good evening. For the record, I'm Rob Levesque from our Levesque Associates. I'm going to butcher these names, so I'm going to let you explain the names for me.
Okay.
So I'm here representing,
William Garoya and Salome Njoroge.
okay, thank you, for the enforcement order at the subject property. Our office, as requested by the commission, was hired by the applicant, or the respondent, I should say, for work that was done at the address 101 Old Farm Road. So this is the subject house here. There was work being done at the time of our site visit. There's been some work that was done on a deck, and then also some work in the backyard. So what we did is we delineated a couple different things and identified them on our plan. We have the bank to an intermittent stream, which is shown here. So that's the limit of the bank. We also have a limit of a disturbed area, which is this. It's a little bit hard to see here. I do have copies for the commission as well of the plans that I can put out on the table. But so there's a hatched area here. It's a fairly sizable area that was impacted, and there's trees and stumps and whatnot cut down in that area. In our research, and I think the commission is aware of this, in our research we found some old, during our survey, we found some old conservation monuments from a previous notice of intent that was filed years ago. And there was an order of conditions that was issued associated with that showed those monuments, and a lot of the work that's out there, not even associated with this, is beyond that. So I think there's been some confusion over the years as to where the limit of the work is supposed to be and where it is. So those monuments are these little white dots that you see here, which we located. So that's from the previous notice of intent and order of conditions that was issued. I did not seem to find any, our office didn't find a certificate of compliance associated with that. So it may have been issued, but not recorded.
They never put it in the deeds,
We didn't see it.
never registered it.
So with that, you know, there's a couple different levels of impact. So there's the impact based on the most recent activity, and then there's the question about the previous activity. So, you know, either through the enforcement order or potentially through, you know, if something else is required by the commission, the work should probably be permitted properly, whether it be through the enforcement order or whether after the fact notice of intent or something like that potentially needs to be filed. So with that, we have a restoration plan which was requested by the commission. It does not recreate the entire area that they have impacted. It's the desire of the applicant to replant some of the, they really want to have a little bit more of a backyard. We have shown a replanting plan here. We have some detail. We have some red maples, alternate leaf dogwood, sweet pepper bush, and witch hazel plants that we were proposing down in this area. That said, we are also planning on reseeding with erosion control wetland seed mix in this area. And then there's also an area that they would like to restore to grass here. So this would be a seed mix with the plantings. This would be grass. So this is what we worked out with the owner. This is what they would, you know, like to be able to come back with to the commission. So it's really twofold. You have the work that was done recently, and then you have the question about the previous work with the monuments that we found.
Those monuments date back to when it was developed in the 80s?
Yeah,
You
the
guys
date, I think in my file I have the date of the order of conditions that was issued. I don't know if I'm-
So by previous work, you mean when they built the house?
Yeah, so.
They put the
Correct.
limits of work that were never registered?
Correct, so the monuments were actually put in the ground here. Different owners, I don't know how many times they might have changed hands, and I'm sure, you know, I don't know if these folks were the owner at that point, likely not.
So there's an outstanding order from the commission
Right,
to put monuments and register with the,
right, but
Registry.
there's, you know, over the years, there's, you know, the yard has been utilized, you know, independent of those monuments, you know, basically not aware.
over and beyond?
Correct, yep, and that's not even today's stuff, so.
It was.
And I don't think it was done by these folks, it was probably done by the previous owner.
And that's correct. And we went back to, I went back to the Realtor and also talked to the lawyer's office, the attorney who helped with the closing. And that was not discussed, as we are not supposed to have gone past a certain work limit. It's so close to the house. If that was mentioned, we probably wouldn't have signed the documents at that point because it's literally really close to the house. And we have 5 kids, that wouldn't have worked out. And it was a foreclosure property, you know, and it was bank owned. So, you know, they wanted to do the transaction and we were willing buyer at the same time. But we were not aware of that. And when I went to the realtor, it became he said, hey, didn't your lawyer, didn't your attorney, you know, say this to you? You know, so at this point, you know, I don't know what else we can do.
What is the distance from those monuments to the river or the stream, intermittent stream?
Approximately 50 feet from the bank.
Okay,
And,
so they
I
were
would say they
probably-
probably set, a lot of them are literally almost on the 50-foot line,
Okay,
but approximately 50 feet.
So that
How
must
far
have
away
been-
from the house? Sorry.
I would say this one is within the pool deck. This one is probably 10 to 12 feet past the house, maybe a little bit more. Same thing here. And then this one's probably 18 feet or so off the
So the
driveway.
brook's 60 to 80 feet from the house,
Correct.
and 50 feet is the limit of work from the brook.
No, so to clarify, the previous order of conditions had monuments approximately 15 feet from the brook. The activity currently is
You
much
have the
closer.
previous order of conditions?
I believe I do if I can find it.
What's the date?
think it was
So this is
1986.
the order of conditions from April 21st or 27th, 1987.
Oh, 87, sorry.
Do we have any of the plans that go with that? Can we please see that?
It was a sketch. I don't know if
you got the letter dated April 29th that had all the attachments.
I do have it, yep. I got it.
That would have the order of condition, the deeds, the deed notation, reminding,
This is my only copy today, so I'm going to take a look at this. So this is the order of conditions.
From 87?
91.
91?
At least that's when the book, yeah, it was approximately
Mary Ellen,
June
do you
91.
want to take a look at that?
So I have to point out the
Because
obvious.
It's
So
organized there,
so there's been a violation for God knows how many years,
Correct.
ball dropped by multiple attorneys. But at the heart of the matter, the original order of conditions were not followed.
Correct.
Well, in the deed to deed, that was the previous owner before the foreclosure, it does reference the superseding order of conditions, so it's only one deed back.
But it carries
Moves
regardless.
forward, but it
Right,
was easy
carries
enough.
Forever.
Yes,
Right,
and it was
it should
actually
be
easy
deeded.
enough to find, is where I'm going. It's easy enough in the title search to find, because it's not 20 years ago. Yeah. 20
What,
transactions.
but you're saying it's not in the deed?
No, I'm sorry, it's recorded, the monuments and the plan showing the monuments is recorded in the order of conditions. We were not able to find was a certificate of compliance that would have been applied for after they did the work, the initial work.
Yeah, which doesn't surprise me, there's a lot of those out there.
Yeah, there are.
It's a partial certificate of compliance right here. Lot 26, Old Farm Road.
So your restoration plan, what's the distance that is from the, so is your restoration plan to move the limit of work closer to the river?
Nope, so the limit of work is arguably adjacent to the river in some areas. I'm just gonna draw on it for a second here. So the limit of work is right about here now, and then there's been some clearing. So our thought was to bring it out approximately 20 feet away from the stream and have these plantings, supplemental plantings, as well as, seeding it with a conservation seed mix.
And just disregard the previous
Which
limit
I
of
think
work?
there's, so not disregard it, this is what was worked out, this is what the applicant would like to do. We understand that may or may not be palatable to the commission. Regardless of what is landed upon, I think the procedure would probably be to request a certificate of compliance and also potentially file an after-the-fact notice. We already have a plan. So if we filed an after-the-fact notice of intent for the work, an order of conditions was issued for the new work, those monuments that were in place from the previous order could be shifted to a more logical location, obviously not in the pool deck and not 10 feet off the back of the
But
house.
the original order is out there.
Right, but if you request...
So you're saying give a certificate of compliance on something that doesn't comply?
Well, so yes.
You can't really.
Well, you could close it, that's the only way to close out the order, technically. So you'd have to close out the order, issue a new order. So close out the old order, issue a new order. Monuments would be put in place in a logical location, and then a certificate of compliance would be applied for upon completion of the restoration plan.
Me personally, I'd like verification on what the proper procedure is. Because if the thing's out there in the open, and it's not been complied with, then that's got to be addressed first and foremost.
So the enforcement order is the right, your commission issuing the enforcement order makes sense. The question is, how do you want to remedy it from here? Because you have monuments that arguably, haven't been complied with, for 2 or 3 owners back, and there's a pool there, and there's other stuff there. So,
I understand all that.
yeah.
Just in your little presentation there, the fact that he went in and cut next to the brook, and now that he's done this, he's got a restoration plan, he's asking for more yard.
Right.
Doesn't lend to like giving him
Understood.
more,
We have
given the
council,
fact that the way that
clients
this thing is
that-
proceeded.
that we're aware, you know, we,
I'm thinking the same or less
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
with restoration.
well, that's what I'm looking at, that plan that's in front of Bob right now. I believe you said that you thought it was like 15 feet was the limit of work line and where the markers were?
from the back of the house. So
Oh,
the-
I thought you were saying it was from the edge of the intermittent stream.
So are we talking about the old markers?
The
Yeah,
original
the
markers,
original,
yeah.
the original
Yes.
markers.
So these are the original markers.
Right, okay.
So they're approximately from the back of the house,
Right.
let's call it, 15 to,
Because in according to the original conditions, the entire limit of work line shall be at least 50 feet from the wetland boundary.
which is,
With the exception of the lower portion of the road entering from Pease Road and entering from Prospect Street adjacent to lot.
so that would be logical, the approximate marker locations are about 50 feet off of the wetland boundary.
Because, and what we have here too, just, so everybody's aware of it, these weren't individual filings. There was a notice of intent done for this entire subdivision.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
referencing
yeah.
20 lots here.
Right, because that
Or
was,
more.
right, they come before us on a couple of other ones that
Mhm.
are just getting developed now.
A lot of times, they get, the stuff gets buried in, when there's multiple lots, that's why, anytime we file a notice of intent, we typically, for multiple lots in a subdivision or whatnot, we usually ask for separate order conditions or file a separate notice.
Yeah, it's cleaner that way.
Makes life a lot
Yeah.
easier later.
Yeah, especially when there's ones that they have nothing to do with
Exactly.
the commission, yes. And we appreciate that. We know that's a little bit of an extra burden on you, but,
I'm not really comfortable with the precedent that this sets, that someone doesn't comply, I mean, not this person, but whoever owned this before didn't comply. And so now we change? I mean, I understand the situation where you currently have a pool, but I don't feel comfortable with,
So the pool is a built-in pool?
Yes, it's in
I'm
ground.
sorry, I haven't been there. so-
No, it's in ground.
It's in
And
ground.
it's already
It's-
in,
It's in.
It's been there for years.
but I mean, it's already in, beyond those markers that were originally installed in the development?
Yeah, so
Yes.
roughly in the pool deck, area, the concrete sidewalk or pool deck around the pool itself, and then there's grading associated with that, to accommodate the grade of the pool, so they filled the back slope there. So they absolutely work within that area. Or not work,
So it's
structure.
perfect, just turn it into a pond.
There's some frogs in there.
Cement pond.
What's it, on your restoration plan here, not how close are you to the road?
How close
Because
would
the
we?
50 was, that's all been violated and way beyond, and then you went in and cleared more. So your restoration plan,
Widened.
how close is it? Sorry to put it together.
So the restoration plan would put us approximately 20 to 20, 20 and change feet away from the intermittent stream.
Less than we've ever allowed.
Yes.
and essentially what you had before, other than where the pool was violated over here in this packet that he sent out, I'm pretty sure that this line of the fencing was where the permanent limit of work markers were, and that was it.
Where's
They're in
that?
your file.
in your packet,
It's in your packet that Rob handed out.
the previous photos.
Where's the photos
Bought
that
a
I took?
house 30 years ago.
Should know in that folder.
Somebody bought it.
Yeah, and,
So it's
You
attached
get
to
as
the
many
restoration
copies as
order.
you
That was the
Look at
neighborhood I live in.
the letter, see the letter, the cover letter?
There they are.
Okay, there you go.
I don't know if Tom's been out there to see what it looked like.
How about the dirt that got brought in? Is that still in there?
There's piles of material to be
Where they
removed here.
filled
Think it should be
the
right here.
wetland?
There's two stockpiles here that need to
so
be
this is
removed
the fence they're
as
talking
part of it.
about you from years ago?
No, this, on the previous photos, there's, this fence was
Oh.
the,
This fence came right
this
along.
little sort of
Right, that's this right here.
Yeah.
Let's we take that whole
Geez,
stick
Rob, we should
together.
enter some of these in the MAC photo contest.
Yeah, huh?
I got better ones
Just
than
so,
that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is
Tom,
that
did
new
you-
deck in violation too? That must be beyond the markers,
No,
the
the-
original
the-
markers.
The
Where's
deck,
right up-
the deck it was within the limit of work, and they're just because it wasn't structurally
So
sound.
the really big issue is the pool. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, the whole backyard is the big issue. then,
well,
really.
well, right, but, you know, it's not as, huge of a project to restore an area that's just cleared as it is a pool that's built in violation. That's a bigger,
Is there any marker over in here anywhere?
This is the last marker that I'm aware of on this.
Okay.
has the commission in the past, just because I haven't been on the commission long enough, ever sort of done something like this? Like changed the limit of work line
To accommodate the new
to
owners.
accommodate a
Because I'm sure,
violation?
I truly believe this new homeowner was unaware of it.
Oh, yeah.
Not in my time.
And the
No,
bank,
yeah, I don't think,
and the bank should have been aware of
where
it,
they
they
make
should have
new
explained it to them.
limits of work.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
And to be truly honest, there was also a miscommunication. I did actually come to the conservation before we even cut the trees. It's just that there was a miscommunication at that office, but I did come to the conservation. I just did not, hire Mr. Murphy and then, start cutting trees. We just didn't know,
You came to the commission?
to the conservation
For-
office.
For what?
To ask for permission if I could cut the trees. And, I spoke to the young lady, and the thing was, as long as I'm not if I'm gonna put up a fence, then I was supposed to get a wetland specialist because the land borders conservation and wetlands, but as long as I'm on this side of the brook, then I'm okay. And that's exactly what I told Mr. Murphy. That's why, on his defense, that's why he was, I guess, confident to go and cut the trees. But we just did not go and cut, you know what I mean? I just did not ignorantly kind of just pay this gentleman lots of money and just go cut trees. We just didn't know. If we know what we know right now, we wouldn't have bought the house to begin with. We wouldn't have literally where the deck is. If you're walking across the deck like this, one part of your body is touching the deck, the other part is touching that fence. And that fence kind of goes around the property and the pool. It's like a mesh, a coop or chicken coop kind of.
Yep.
So we didn't really know.
That's pretty good indication of something.
Yeah, unfortunately, and I was very confident in what we were doing, just because I thought I had the proper authorizations, and it seemed like to open it up would be nice, but and I was educated obviously that it's a violation that needs to be fixed regardless of whatever miscommunication that happened. And I did explain that to Mr. Murphy too, after Connie educated me of, I understand it could be a miscommunication, but it still needs to be fixed. But obviously with Mr. Murphy, he's nail bent on I lied to him. I did not lie to him. I came prepared for that. I didn't lie to him. I told him exactly what happened. I went there and he was fully aware of the story. I'm actually, when the job got stopped, I'm actually the one who called the office and asked Connie, why did they stop? Because I was in Boston at the time, why did they stop the job at the site? And then she educated me and I told her my process. I said, I went there, I have the proper authorization, but then she educated me on the process. So
You went in and you spoke to Bethany?
I went and spoke to Bethany. We spoke, do you remember? I went and spoke to
And I
Bethany.
asked Craig about it, so
Yeah.
that was where it ended.
And so we went back and forth. We just said, as long as, if I'm gonna put a fence, I just get a wetland specialist to tell me where I could put the fence and where I cannot put the fence. And that's exactly the same thing I told Mr. Murphy. But in our last meeting here, that's not what he told the commission. When Mary Ellen asked about logs that were there, tree trunks that were supposed to get picked up, he said he was not coming back to the site, which is false information, because 2 days before that I had just spoken to him and he was supposed to come pick them up. So after that meeting, I wrote him an email. I said there are still logs that needs to get picked up, and I really don't think you bashing my name is gonna help the situation. It's an uncomfortable place to be here. I mean, it makes me nervous just to be here, but I don't think you have to bash the next man for that, you know. So he replied with some F you, you know, F that, and I mean, I have the emails here, and he said, you'll be lucky if I come to your house to pick up those logs. I don't reply to such emails, so I didn't reply. On Friday morning or around about then, he emailed me again and said, consider yourself lucky. And he came and picked up the tree trunks. And, you know, we have pictures of the tree trunks, even, you know, after the day we were here last Wednesday, like 2 weeks ago. On that Thursday morning, we have pictures of the tree trunks. You know, so to us as homeowners, it's really unfortunate. If we knew better, we wouldn't have bought the house. You know, because literally that deck is right there.
So Bethany told you to hire a wetland specialist.
When I put in the fence.
So
But as
what
far
did
as
you ask, if you could just cut down trees?
two things, yeah. So I wanted to cut the trees, you know, I don't want to, technically, I wanted to cut all the trees that were in the yard, right? So we can get a yard, because we have like 5 kids, we can get a yard to play, you know, and grow some grass. That was what we wanted to do. And the other thing I wanted to do too, that chicken coop, I was gonna change it and put a nice fence all around, you know, so that the kids don't go out, you know, onto the road or anything like that. So I was asking, I wanted 2 things. I wanted the fence, and I wanted to know if I can cut trees. Cut the fence, I was told you gotta get a wetland specialist, because your land kind of borders conservation and wetlands. So you would need somebody to tell you, you know, where. And she went back into the office and came with a piece of paper that has our map. So when I was going to Mr. Murphy, I was very confident.
Wait a minute, wait. So she told you to hire a wetland specialist
If you
For the
wanted to do
fence.
the fence.
For the fence.
and the trees?
No, for the trees, we're okay to cut, as long as you don't go past the stream or brook, you come this way, you're okay, and that's exactly what we did. We didn't go past the brook.
So Bethany, you told him you could cut to the stream?
No, no,
All
no,
right,
no.
I don't think she did, but I want to hear
So
what.
this was my first week of work. Connie was not here, she was on vacation. And so I called Craig because I wasn't sure what to do. And I unfortunately don't have an email correspondence to refer back to except for my email to Craig about my question about what the next steps would be for the applicant.
So what was our content of our conversation? They remind me asking you, we okay to
Yeah, I
cut the
remember
trees?
about the trees, I don't remember about the fence.
Oh, the fence, we didn't even do, we haven't done anything with
Yeah.
the fence yet. Even right now, we haven't done anything with the fence. You remember you telling me about a wetland specialist if I wanted to put a fence? So that's exactly that. And to cut the trees, as long as and I told you I'm not going past the stream, I'm going inside of the, you know, like coming back this way. And that was okay.
So you're saying that she gave you permission to cut the trees on the
Yes,
stream?
yes.
But
So
the fence, you couldn't go beyond the fence?
To put the fence, you have to get a wetland specialist. 'Cause-
Beyond the fence, but you
Beyond-
can
yeah.
cut the trees beyond the fence?
No, what do you mean I couldn't cut the trees?
Beyond the current fence.
Beyond the current fence?
chicken
So
wire
she
fence.
said you would need a
Oh,
wetland
not the
specialist to put a
chicken-
fence in?
Oh, no, not the chicken. When I'm talking about the fence, I'm talking about fencing the perimeter of
Right.
the house,
Right,
the perimeter
right,
of
right.
our land, which is about an acre. That, I wasn't even referring to that one because that's like chicken coop. That's, I wouldn't even consider that a fence.
That's the previous limit of work line. That was there, I'm gonna assume, to
Yes,
tell
yeah, pretty much.
the owner, you don't do anything on the other side of that. That was the purpose of that fence.
Yeah, Mary Ellen, we have some pictures that show how the land looked like when we actually
Yeah.
bought it.
Yeah.
And you know, it was all brushed. It's very hard for somebody to know exactly, especially you're talking about a lay person, that we actually tore that fence apart because we're like, we're gonna put something better. You know, it's,
So then you went to your tree guy and you said that the permits were in place, those were his words?
yeah, so, and that's another thing that I wanted to address, that's wrong. And in the email that he actually emailed me, he actually stated the correct thing. He said that I went to the, because this is what I told him, I went to the conservation, which is opposite where the building permits are, because we're doing a whole renovation. So I've been there enough times, and I spoke to a lady, and she told me this is what I can do. I did not imply to him that I have a paper permit, because we have blue permits for the renovations for the, you know, inside the house. So I did not imply to him, that was false of him telling the committee and implying that I did not mislead him like that. you see, I told him we have authorization, and even when Connie spoke to me, I called him back and explained to him the same story, but that's not what he told the committee here. And I'm already aware that I still have to fix it regardless. I've been educated by Connie and I've been educated by Jeffrey that I still have to fix it because a violation has been committed. So that's why when I came last time, I wasn't, it's a violation. I wasn't coming to say he said, she said, miscommunication, this, miscommunication, that. But then when Mr. Murphy was on the seat, I was back there and I wanted to raise my hand. I didn't know what to do because he just pretty much I told him, you stained my reputation, and I think that's not right, especially with false information. If you're gonna say something, just say the way it happened. Don't add any sugar and salt.
Bethany, did you tell him he could cut to the brook?
If I may interject at this point, Bethany was new,
Yes, I understand
and
that.
Bethany does not have those answers. Bethany, as all of us do, we send an email out to the Conservation Commission. Hey, we got this call, and you all respond. So we would never tell somebody what they can and cannot do. We leave it up to the commission. So I'm not sure.
Bethany can answer.
What, no. We do not answer those questions. You are the commissioners, you respond to the inquiries that
I'm
come
just
to our
trying to
office.
get to the heart of,
Yeah.
if this guy is under the impression from a town official, somebody in the office, that he can cut trees up to the brook, then he tells his tree guy, I have authorization to cut trees up to the brook. I mean, it
Right,
may have been a
but-
communication breakdown, but.
Sure, yeah.
I'm pretty confident Bethany did not say that.
Obviously,
Obviously, there's a
Right.
miscommunication here,
Yes.
so, I mean, that's a bit of an issue.
Thank you.
Another part of the issue, unfortunately, I feel bad for you. But, the onus is on the homeowner and the homeowner's attorney to do their due diligence and research and see what is actually noted in the deed of the house, which there is an existing order of conditions with a limit of work line and all that. And unfortunately, you were not made aware of it. However, that doesn't, because you were unaware of it, that doesn't give you a pass on all these things that occurred out there. Whether somebody said something or not, you still should have known what was in the deed. And I understand it's not your fault, but perhaps your lawyer or the real estate agent or somebody should have told you something, and feel free to take recourse with them. I believe you have every right to do that. But so, the issue of he said, she said here, in my opinion, is kind of moot. We just need to keep moving forward. And I believe I'm pretty sure I was contacted by Bethany, and I think I made a couple of phone calls and was unsuccessful, and so, okay, it'll come back up again, which happens frequently, sometimes in this. But I think right now, we just need to keep moving forward. How we're handling this restoration, and what we are willing to consider, and then how we're going to deal with the other enforcement order that is involved with this. But at this point, he said, she said, in my opinion, is moot. It really is.
It is and it isn't, all right, because you dragged the tree guy in here too, all right? So he's dragged in here because he was under the impression that, he's saying that he had authorization.
I understand that. Yep.
So if the town's authorized them, then we have to treat this differently than if they didn't. That's the point.
In my opinion, Bethany was here a week.
Yeah, I
I can't
understand.
imagine her saying, go ahead and cut trees down. It didn't happen.
Yeah, correct. I'll beg to differ.
It did not happen.
Me and
There you go.
Bethany.
So then,
I would beg to differ because at the same time, Bethany and I were there. She remembers the conversation, and to be sincere, this is not what I wanted to bring up because, and I didn't bring it up on the first meeting, but I explained to you even on the phone, Connie, when you called me, I said, no, I spoke to a young lady at that time, I'm sorry I didn't remember your name, but I spoke to a young lady, and I didn't actually speak, I was there physically. She even gave me a paper, of you remember you giving me a map?
No, I remember talking to him, and I remember I didn't know what to do, so I contacted Craig, and Craig said he would call him, and that's kind of where I remember it ending.
Also,
was-
Bethany, that's not what you told me. Our contract with the tree guy was about 8,000, and we had other things I wanted to do there. That was about 5,000, and now I have the Lavesque that I'm paying. We're talking about 11 to 16,000. I would not have hired the gentleman back there if you had told me that that somebody's gonna call me. That was not the ending of our conversation. The ending of our conversation, I said, you said, as long as I'm not going past the brook. I even told you I'm not going past the brook. We're going inside from the house to where the brook is. And you said with the fence, if I'm gonna do it, I get a wetland specialist to tell me where my borderlines is and stuff like that. That was the content of our conversation, and that's exactly the same thing I went and told the tree guy.
If I
Okay,
may,
then
if I may, if there is ever a question posed to us, as I said, we send emails out to the Conservation Commission. This is a pattern that is established, something we have upheld. The only answer we ever would provide to somebody is to submit a request for determination of applicability. Those are our two.
Or NOA.
And that
correct.
didn't happen either.
So-
All right, then,
Can
I guess at
can
this
can
point,
ask a question?
let me just go first, please. At this
Thank you,
point,
sorry.
I think we should stop the he said, she said thing here.
Exactly.
I think it's at the point right now where we can't make a determination on this, and I think it's in the best interest of everybody that we would need to discuss this with the town attorney to see just how we move forward with handling some of this, but, and maybe just go back to finish up on the proposal for what you intend to do with the property, and we will address this issue at a follow-up meeting. Is that acceptable?
That's acceptable to me.
Yeah, I agree.
We can sit here and beat this around for an hour.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere.
Right, we're accomplishing nothing.
Okay, good. All right, so back to what I had suggested procedurally, because, you know, you can get the law department involved if you would like, but procedurally, what we would recommend is, you know, we land on where you want to be with restoration, whatever that might be. The monuments are set per the original order of conditions. Whether or not you want those respected should be discussed. I would ask that you don't add insult to injury by impacting the pool. And they said they have 4 kids. I don't think there was any intent by this applicant to exceed the limit of work. So those previous owners, they bought a property. Sounds like a lot of unfortunate events.
Excuse, if I may interject, the pool permit was from 2001. I just checked the field card, so somebody in 2001
Great,
obtained a
thank you.
building permit.
So to that end, you know, they've obviously, they purchased the property since then. A pool permit was issued at that point.
But not a conservation permit.
So,
Just a building.
but they would have to go to the building department to get a permit for a pool, so it was missed again. So I mean, it's not, you know, a lot of people missing stuff. So we now know about it, so whatever we land on for restoration, I don't know if you guys want to think about it, continue the meeting, talk to legal. It sounds to me like there was some confusion, you know, and I think we leave it at that. There was some confusion, I don't think there was any intent.
No.
So if we can take that into consideration and work with these folks and come up with a solution that maybe has a hybrid of this line, there is a procedure for changing that if you do want to do that. And that would be through the request for a certificate of compliance on the original order, a new order with new monument locations. Maybe it's a happy medium between the two. So that's what I would respectfully suggest. And if we need to continue tonight so that you guys can, digest what we have, we can do that.
I think procedurally, I'm not 100% sure how that would work as
I think
far
you'd
as
have to
closing
rescind
out
it,
the
or you'd
enforcement
have to-
order
Yeah.
and that sort of thing prior
Or
to
adjust it
issuing
maybe.
a new notice of intent. But we'll look at it. And obviously, I don't think anyone on the commission would be coming in here now saying, rip the pool out.
Right.
So we'll work with you. Frankly, I'm not just personally, I'm not 100% in favor of how far we're trying to push the limit of work. But I believe we can come, to a successful resolution of this.
We did let the applicant, or the
Yeah.
respondent know that,
Yep.
that we, you have certain, ideals that you want to try to maintain.
And so I think we should continue it, because obviously these plans were just done.
Right.
So none of us have had a lot of time to review them. and research any other regulations on it. Any other comments from the commission?
Yeah. Just because there's a limit of work line doesn't mean that that land is unusable by your family. I mean, you can still passively recreate. It's
And you
It's
are
not off
allowed-
limits.
Yeah, you are allowed to do some trimming, vista pruning, they call it.
big paths.
You know, and that sort of thing. It's not completely, like Mary Ellen said, yeah, you can't set foot out there. You definitely can, it's your property. But altering it and that sort of thing, cutting trees down, you can't do without getting permission from the commission.
No matter where the limit of work line ends up, you're still able to use
Right.
the land passively. It's just you can't necessarily put in a lawn.
The other thing, I guess, that would help us moving forward is if some of these emails that you have, if you have copies, or you could forward them to the office, to the commission.
The emails,
If you have some between you and the office and yourself and Mr. Murphy.
I have emails of myself and Mr. Murphy. At the office, I was there physically. I wish the paper that you gave me, I wish I had kept it. The one that has, it was pretty much a map of our property.
Yeah.
But here I have emails of me, what I wrote to Mr. Murphy, and the pictures of what I sent him, and what he replied to me. I didn't reply to that, and then what he replied on Friday morning.
Okay. That would be great if you could submit those.
Yeah, and if you could provide us
You know.
with a copy of the proposal.
Yes, I have a copy.
Yeah, we have extra drawings.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I'll leave these with Connie, if that's okay, Connie?
Okay.
These are for the commission.
I need that other one back, that old drawing thing to put back in this file here.
That's what Tony's got,
Yep.
yeah.
Does anybody else have any comments from the commission? I'll entertain a motion to continue action on this enforcement order to our
June 12th.
Thank you, June 12th, 2019 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you for your time, appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, the old, this is the old original file, I guess, or whatever. You have that one?
I have the handout that Rob gave us.
That one right there, that other old one.
Oh, this.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I would definitely like a copy of one. How many drawings were submitted, Rob?
I believe there was 2 sheets in each.
If I could just get a copy of one of them.
I think there was 7 copies and then an original for, yes.
For August.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want to just take them, or do you want me to fold them?
I'll just take one or whatever tonight. Yeah.
The rest, I'll be delighted to fold your plans, so you're not wrong. It's up to you while I'm sitting.
Yeah, but I'd like to get a copy of one of those too, so I can,
One for everybody, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but do you want them rolled or folded?
Rolls good for me.
Okay.
Next item we have on the agenda is the enforcement order for 101 Old Farm Road for a violation by David Murphy of Mr. Western Mass Tree Care. He left? I was just gonna say, at this point too, I believe we need to talk to the town attorney. I'll entertain a motion to continue this to our June 12th, 2019 meeting.
So moved.
second.
So Attorney Maynard is away until about the first week of June, so we'll send it over to him. I don't know if you'll get a response right away, just so that you know. Okay?
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next on the agenda, project monitoring, Bella Vista Estates. There was a couple of calls that came in. I think people saw the emails that went out, and the most recent issue about the water runoff was DPW issue is outside of our jurisdiction. Good evening, Brian.
Good evening, how are you?
Good, and you?
Good. Just for the commission, I'm Brian Fitzgerald. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Fitzgerald Attorneys at Law, and I'm also the trustee of Bella Vista Hold Injury Realty Trust. Just to update the commission, we had our initial planning board meeting last night, where we discussed the removal of the crossing over the wetlands. And that meeting was continued until June 18th as it's being reviewed. The modification plans are needed to be reviewed, or the technical review needs to take place with the Department of Public Works. So there were at the planning board meeting a couple of resident neighbors who had addressed some concerns about water runoff. One was a neighbor on Prospect Street. And Mr. Carnevale was able to meet with that neighbor last night, and we believe that the water may have been being diverted from another lot that we currently don't own, but I believe Mr. Carnevale is working with the neighbor in terms of trying to do some excavation work that might also help alleviate an issue if he's seeing an issue. There were some other residents who brought up water issues related to Autumn Ridge, and I know that Mr. Carnevale has met with both of those neighbors. One of them in particular, I think after Mr. Carnevale met with him, you know, we feel that we're downgrading from them, so we don't feel that the water is coming from our property, and I think what they determined with one of the neighbors on Autumn Ridge is that that it was, the issue was actually could have been coming from one of their neighbors.
Yeah, Autumn Ridge is closer to the center of town.
Yeah. So, and then with the neighbor who resides at 54 Capri Drive, the Plotkins, I know that Mr. Carnevale has met with Mr. Plotkin and had been making arrangements for some elevations to be done to determine, you know, make a determination.
We all have them
Okay.
in our packet for tonight.
Oh, we go?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
And he has also submitted an RDA on our June meeting. Yes.
You and I were out there, me and Mr. Plotkin,
Yes.
and we talked about the silt fence and, was it straw bales too? Or, no,
The
there's
wattle-
socks.
the
There's
wattle,
socks. Well, I feel that they should be removed as soon as possible. And the other thing I think that we should do is he should be excavating some of those chips out of there, because I think that they're changing the water course. I think that water that naturally diverted into that stream, or that intermittent
Yep.
stream, is getting pushed out onto the street.
Yeah.
Because the chips serve as a dam, and the
Okay.
silt fence and the socks serve as a dam as well.
I know Mr. Carnival is planning on removing some of those chips, as he said in a previous email, where they sent it out about planting some ryegrass, I think that it was. And yes, the existing erosion controls need to come out. I might differ with you on how I think we should do it. Because I know we were out there and looking at it, and these are ones that we never should have allowed to have been put there anyway, so it's kind of our fault that they're there. But I'm not sure I'm comfortable with taking them all out in one fell swoop, as opposed to just working it in from the edges a little bit and having a more gradual release of the water running behind those houses on Capri Drive.
We're past the wet season now. So you could rip that stuff out of there. I mean, the vegetation's right up to it. Throw some seed down in the pockets that are created.
And I'm just concerned that if that happens and the amount of water that could potentially go in, and the water is dropping, so yeah, maybe I'm just being overly cautious. I'm just concerned that if we did that, the phone's gonna start ringing off the hook at the town hall. But, you know, I guess if people want, they'll take a look at it, but it, you know, and, you know, Mr. Carnival did remove a couple of them to let some of the water start flowing through. I know he is slowly working at it. But do you have something in there over his exact plan about when there's not a lot that happened since that email came out about planting the grass?
Okay.
With cleaning up some of the mulch and that sort of thing, if you could refresh our memory on that?
In terms of the removal of the wood chips?
Yeah.
Are we talking about, okay, all right. I thought that, based on the letter that was submitted by our wetland specialist, Mr. Nucci, that, you know, he felt that in terms of the wood chips being placed there, that it's actually good for the erosion control. So I don't, I think that was the follow-up in terms of the initial
Yeah.
plan was to have it hand raked out. And then,
I think it might have been,
yeah.
He inadvertently created a damming situation. And the water that's flowing, say, from it would be the north towards Autumn Ridge, is channeled right onto the cul-de-sac, right onto the road, instead of naturally diverting into that intermittent stream. So if that were to be brought back to its natural grade, and then goes down some lime and some seed, it would naturally filtrate into that intermittent brook rather than onto a public way. And then the other situation is the socks and the silt fence that are creating a damming situation that are diverting the water onto Mr. Plotkin's property and creating a stagnant pool situation. If those were removed, again, the water would find its way to its natural point, which was the intermittent stream where it went originally. I'm pretty certain that's where it followed. We'd be happy to meet you out there and
Yeah. Yeah.
go over
Can
it.
we?
You might want to meet with DPW, if I may, at the same
Yeah,
time, because
have
they're
Bruce
doing the
there at town.
draining, they're doing
Absolutely.
the drainage review,
Yeah.
Yep.
okay?
Right.
If you're not gonna be using that property, it's just, you wanna naturally flow that water through that area. It's not gonna be used.
So
Puts it
Connie,
right
should
out.
we make an appointment with you or schedule an appointment through you?
I'm shooting an email to Tom
Okay.
right here, and I'll copy you, and I'll
Okay.
I'm going to copy vice chair and chair, okay? Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
you can send it to everybody on the commission, because if they're doing it during the day,
Yeah, no, I
Okay,
yeah, if they're doing it during the day, I'm most likely not going to be there.
okay,
I can be there.
Yep.
I could be
okay,
there.
okay, all right, all right.
Yeah, but, you know, so far, Mr. Carnival's been pretty good. He put the extra hay bales up there that we kinda asked to, and,
Yeah.
you know, that looks like that was a mistake on our part, asking for that. And when we allowed those to be put there a few years ago, we shouldn't have done that, so, you know, we'll just keep moving forward, and so far, the applicant, in my opinion, has been pretty cooperative with us on this. You know, and he inherited the bad situation.
Okay.
I think we're good.
Till next month then, or just, obviously we'll have a meeting and then report back?
We just, you know, I mean,
Okay.
I don't know, I mean, maybe you can tell me, you can check with us, but, you know,
Alright,
you guys
okay.
don't necessarily need to be here. It had
Alright.
been on our list,
Okay,
because of things that were happening in the
Mhm.
past, that was one of the projects that were getting attention.
yeah, okay.
But yeah, and we'll be in touch with emails,
Okay.
that sort of thing.
Great. Thank you, appreciate your time.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Brian.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Next one on the project monitoring was 53 Tanglewood. I haven't been by there in a week or so, I'm assuming nothing has happened out there yet. Anybody been by?
I haven't had a chance to go by it.
The other projects that were listed on the sheet, I sent an email a while ago about, I think it was 108 Old Farms Road, where I was requesting that we send a letter out because he still didn't have his DEP sign up.
Yeah.
And then I believe I was asked to draft the letter. But can you guys just kind of take care of that? It's like a 2-sentence letter.
What do you want us to say?
Your DEP sign up as opposed to condition number whatever it is isn't up.
That's what we can do.
Yep. Okay, thank you. The other one, I don't have the number in front of me either, was Maple Shade Ave. You can see it pretty easy just driving by those, you've seen it?
Is it the one that goes back to the
Yeah.
old quarry, that property?
Yeah.
With the big long driveway?
Yes.
Yes, there is a sign right there.
Half of the erosion controls are down, you know, and it's just a silt fence. There was no hay bales or anything with that. It was fixed a couple, 3 years ago. And I believe there was a letter sent out that should be in the file with that one too. We can essentially just copy that letter and send it. Other than that, I didn't have,
Craig, wouldn't he be coming for compliance, certificate of compliance at this point?
I believe he needs to do more with it. I'm thinking that notice is getting close to expiring, or he needs to be coming in for an extension. Yeah, because that was quite a while ago.
Long time
I'm sorry,
now.
which one is that? I'm
Before I was on the.
402, 15402 maybe, off the top of my head.
here,
Oh yeah, it's on the other list, right? No, it didn't make it on there.
160, no, that's you, right?
That's me.
That's Tom.
599 Maple Shade
That'll be a big book.
in 2013.
Yeah, it would be an odd number, it would be around 100 probably. 105, 97, probably right around there, let me think.
How long ago was it?
Yeah. Arthur Ram, 105 maybe,
And there was an extension
99
granted.
Maple Shade.
99.
Where's it, which,
Yeah, and
Which
he
number?
automatically got an extension, and I'm pretty sure we gave him another one.
January 2013, 1500400.
okay, there it is, okay.
So he just needs a certificate of compliance.
I don't believe he's done. I mean, the driveway's not done, there's probably a lot of other things that need to be done.
I don't know, is he paving the driveway?
Yeah, I don't know.
I forget exactly what he's
I
doing
think
out
he's-
there
I
with
think
the rest of
I
it.
think he's done.
I see.
Yeah. So he just needs a certificate of compliance at this point.
Well, he needs to finish the project, you know, and they're not living there, the house is not occupied by any
Really?
means, no.
His wife passed,
Oh, she did?
yeah, yeah, a few months ago.
But anyway, that was the other one that I had, because, you know, yeah, we've been getting a lot of rain, it's obviously a little ugly out there.
There's an open NOI on that?
There definitely is.
So we can just go in and take a look?
Oh, definitely, yep.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything for project monitoring? The only one I had was Avery Street, I went by there, still nothing had happened there.
Is that Helen Terrace finished? Or is
Um,
he still working on it? I haven't been
He's
by there.
he's still
Still be
working on
working
it.
on it.
Yeah, but
I've
it
been
looks
by there in
okay.
a couple of weeks, so.
Yeah, that one still looks okay.
Okay.
The next item was review and comments for the planning board from the Conservation Commission. You haven't had I was at the planning board meeting last night, but I don't believe our comments saying that the Bella Vista, we were okay with that plan to remove the road.
You spoke.
I'm aware of that, but when the comments came in from the other boards previously, there's a comment from the DPW and the police department.
Right.
I thought we would be sending, at the previous meeting, I guess, I'm just asking, I thought when we discussed it, we were gonna say, okay, that's our communication to the planning board, that we're in favor of removal of this road in the wetland crossing.
You were there, so I didn't want to speak for you, so I gave you the opportunity to have the floor. So,
Let's pretend I wasn't there, I
No,
guess
we
I
just
will
said-
ask. Let's pretend I wasn't there.
but you always come.
No, I do not.
Yes, you do, you're always in the audience.
Well, I'm there often, yes.
Yes, you are, so.
But I thought when we did this at our last meeting, there would be a more formal, a note or something from the staff saying that the Conservation Commission is in favor of this.
Well, what we generally do is, the best thing to do is to provide the minutes, because you've had a discussion, and then they have an opportunity to see what it is you discussed.
Okay? So, I mean, that's it, well, it's been overlooked or whatever,
So-
but that's all, I'm just bringing it up.
But I think that
Because we
the
did do
minutes-
that, right?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yes,
yep.
okay. And like I said, there was comments from the other boards there, but ours just didn't make it, so it was just friendly reminder.
Feeling left out.
Yeah.
You too can come and speak.
And I don't speak at the planning
I
board
feel
meetings
left
very
out,
often. I was just asked to last time, that's all. Discussion of the Jeffrey Webster letter would be next.
I have the letter.
Haven't even seen it, don't even know about it.
Hmm?
Haven't seen it, don't know about it.
A minute, all right.
Yeah, I think you got an email,
You got
might
an
have,
email?
Yeah, that's the guy that,
from Springfield.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
Email, April
Okay.
27th.
Yep.
It came
Oh.
into the office via,
Remember?
Back a while. I was thinking the last week.
I did invite him to
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
attend a
this-
meeting, he's never responded, so.
Yeah, I mean, he's
I
just
really
asking us to
know.
change the practice of clear cutting and that sort of thing, but
What's it in regards to?
he wasn't happy about Redstone. He lives in Springfield, adjacent to, or not Redstone, Hidden Ponds.
He lives over on the other side of the Wheelock Brook there?
Yes, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Do you want to see
In
the?
Springfield? Yeah, you know what, I think, I vaguely remember that.
He's complaining about the degreening of East Long Meadow.
Yeah.
Right,
105 Hellberg Road.
which really is not even, Hellberg
your
Road is.
Pine Knoll, or
Yeah, it's
Pine,
off,
yeah.
it's not even near
Wanna see
it,
it?
so I really don't.
I'll refresh my memory.
I guess I'll draft a letter, send it to everybody. And when
know
it-
what you
So
can
what
say,
are you
right?
gonna reply to?
You know, part of it is we have no legal way to
Or
stop
you just
certain clearing
stop
of
it.
trees.
I don't even think-
You know, if it's out of our jurisdiction, it's out of our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
You know, and there was no, you know, and when he's also referring to a woodpecker that he believes is on the endangered species list,
I wouldn't even respond.
you know, and an owl or something like that. The owl it's a barred owl, it's not on the
Yeah,
endangered list.
He's always waking me up.
It's,
Yeah, I got one.
it is a
He's gonna
protected
be on
species, but it's not on the endangered species list. What does the board think we should do? Do you want to reply or no?
I'd ignore it.
I wouldn't even bother myself, but I don't really know what's in our purview to even say to the guy.
Yeah, what are we gonna reply? He's not a town resident.
Well, thank you for your interest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
I mean,
taken-
I guess it wouldn't hurt to
I mean,
just say thank you and.
Courtesy letter,
Philosophically, I
mean,
agree
you
with
know.
him, but
Yeah.
procedurally, yeah, we don't really have any sort of
Right.
formal response.
I'll draft a letter and send it to everybody
All right.
through the office. Skilled nursing facility? Modification to the stormwater management system?
Minute my trees.
You guys read this, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I wouldn't respond.
Hello again.
Hello.
I didn't realize this was you.
It is, it is. Good evening, for the record again, Rob Levesque and Mike Crowley. Mike is the proponent for the we call it the Dwight Street side of this project that you guys have seen over the last couple of years. You've seen that whole corner take shape. Mike is also responsible for fixing a lot of that traffic, so we can thank him for that.
Left turn signal coming out East Long Meadow?
Yep.
When?
So the
That's a
building.
good question. When? You know, this was all left up to the town of Long Meadow to facilitate this, and it's taken a lot longer than we would have hoped.
Yeah.
So, but supposedly it's happening.
So this is the medical office building that was created. This is the town line right here. And then this is the skilled nursing facility that's under construction now. The old nursing facility is here. If you remember, as part of our filing for the skilled nursing facility, we had filed for a request for determination of applicability because there was a couple little kettle hole type of things where there's kind of some low areas throughout the property on the East Long Meadow side that were regulated under your local bylaw. So not regulated by the state because they're isolated, but regulated under the local bylaw. A lot of them, in particular in this case, are literally a direct function of the drainage from the existing building, and it's just kind of a low area that had a little bit of vegetation. So the reason we're here tonight is we wanted to talk to you informally about a proposal that Mike has made, or we're making on Mike's behalf, is related to the construction of the second building that Mike has. So this building is not constructed yet. It was approved by the town of Long Meadow. And initially, some of the parking calculations that we were doing were, we were trying to balance between a couple different uses within the building. Medical office requires a little bit more parking than a regular office. So we had kind of a split to make all of our parking work. Given the success of the first building, the second floor of the building is currently it's pending, we'll call it, Mike, is that fair to say?
Mm-hmm.
It's pending. So this is something that has come on our radar screen, or Mike's radar screen, a little bit quicker. So what we would like to do is be able to accommodate medical tenants with the entire building. This building's been a great success. We anticipate that this one will be as well. So as part of that, we would want to maximize our parking within the Long Meadow portion of the property. In order to do so, we did originally have a stormwater basin at this end of the parking lot. So if you look at I don't know if you can see the difference in color on my plan. So this is all black parking to here, and then we have this blue. I can't tell from there, can you? Or can you see that?
I can see it.
Okay. So this blue area is kind of our revision. So we'd like to kind of expand the parking a little bit towards the property line, and then kind of squish, so to speak, our basin, and then have it. And there's this area here on the skilled nursing side that they have tentative agreement to create a little drainage easement. So there would be an easement here in favor of the Long Meadow medical office campus. So the water would essentially be drained and then into this basin here. So rather than right here, it would be just pushed over this way. Because we are near the other drainage for this building, and that happens to have been flagged and regulated, we wanted to kind of come to you and talk to you early about that. We would be approximately 25 feet away from that isolated wetland. Now again, that is a drainage area. There's a drainage outfall from this building and some roof leaders that basically just go to a low point here. So what we would have is a stormwater basin adjacent to that, and then our emergency overflow would kind of flow in the same area. So it's a little bit complicated in how we would actually go through the permitting process here because it's in two towns, as you can imagine. The whole project was like that. But in this particular case, I think procedurally what we would do is we would need to file with at the very least with your Conservation Commission under your local bylaw for impacts within the buffer zone to an isolated vegetated wetland, which is this. It's not a high quality wetland. We'd be happy to do a site visit with you so you can see it. It's really just a low area that the water drains to from the building, like I said. That said, we would also likely be amending, if it triggered it, and I would want to work with Connie on this, if it triggered it, we would submit any amendments to the special permit that was issued for the skilled nursing facility. So we would amend the site plan to reflect the drainage in this area here. And then on the Long Meadow side, we would be amending our site plan approval which, to kind of expand the amount of parking spaces, and then kind of show them what we're doing with our drainage. But there's no conservation jurisdiction on the Long Meadow side. It was void of wetlands.
So is it showing a building there on the left? Is that the Long Meadow Professionals?
So this is the existing, this is the building that was just recently
Yeah.
constructed.
North is that way.
This is a pad
Proposed,
site.
that's proposed.
Yep.
And then is that,
That's the
where's the
old-
next
That's
building
the
over?
existing.
This is the
That's
existing.
a nursing home.
Yep.
Back.
Yep, so, and then this is the one under construction, this is the nursing home under construction.
So Tom, what's gonna happen is, once the new nursing home is built, which should be, I think they're planning on being done next summer, Rob, or?
I mean, your guess is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Next spring or next summer, they're gonna move all the residents over into the new building, and then they're actually gonna lop off about 60% of the old building and retain just that single-story section. So actually, it's a interesting question you have, because that's gonna create a lot more pervious area, because most of that building's gonna go away. So there's gonna be a heck of a lot less runoff.
About a third of it.
It's more than half,
What do you think?
way more than half. Because they're just leaving the single-story section.
And then they're
Now I
not
got my
gonna-
reference, because I was, so the lot in the lower left-hand corner, that's the Long Meadow Professional Center, is the white building with the kind of the weird roof.
No.
No, that's
It's
here.
further down.
That's
right.
over there?
I'm sorry, that's right.
That's right there, that's
That's
right
So
there.
so the
Right.
new driveway that we just put in, Tom?
This is
Yeah,
the new.
it's right there along the,
Right.
that
So
right
this-
line.
The
yeah.
second building,
Yeah.
I don't know if you, well, yeah, you were in there.
I just got a really good look at this because I had a bunch of dental work. So I'm looking down at this site, it's sand,
Yeah,
so the drainage is optimum.
yes.
That is like a naturally occurring retention pond. I don't know if it's man-made or it's just naturally
Man-made,
occurred.
man-made.
And then the little, you call it a wetland, it
It's a
falls under
type-
town bylaw.
Correct.
Right, so I think that's probably relative to maybe the water table. I think that relative, whether it's wet or not is relative, because it's a water table. That whole area is sand, it's
all
a
glacial
construction site,
Yep.
right? Me personally, I don't think it's gonna make one iota of difference whether that building's there, because the naturally occurring water is going to the water table, it's still gonna find its way, so it's gonna have virtually zero impact relative to the property. And I, believe me, I was laying eyes on the thing just 2 weeks ago, saying that, yeah, a building's gonna go in here, it's not gonna make one bit of difference.
So,
I'm sorry.
so when the other part of this building goes, so all the concrete, asphalt, everything's gonna be,
Right,
and it's gonna be returned back to pervious
Exactly.
surface.
right,
Wow, yeah.
You're talking about the back of that,
correct,
the old part.
right.
So I
So-
recall that part that comes out this way.
This is gonna
That's-
remain,
They're gonna
the-
retain that.
there's,
The old section, the old
There's two
two-story
wings
section, kind of
that
flat
come out.
roof, that's all coming down.
So where's the retention, so you wanna expand this retention area? Is any of that on the East Long Meadow side currently, or is all of that new?
the current retention area associated with this.
No, with the new one that you have right there,
So
yeah,
this is the East Long Meadow line right here.
right?
The new part.
So nothing is installed yet.
Oh, okay,
So this site has been like rough graded here, but none of this is installed. This is actually, just an untouched area right now near the.
but the plan that's already in place that you wanna change to the new plan has the little retention area just on the
Correct.
Long Meadow side?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, so we, with the cooperation of the skilled nursing facility, Berkshire Health, they've agreed to allow us to come over here, which allows us to just grab a couple more parking spaces, make this building a little bit more functional, and, accommodate medical on the second story.
and so this little isolated wetland, how often does that have water in it?
I bet you when it rains, so basically when it rains, and, it's been pretty rainy this year,
Because
but.
is it a kettle pond or a kettle, just a?
There's usually
depression?
some water in it, but
It's
it is just kind of a man-made depression.
Yeah.
It was man-made?
Depends on the time of year.
Irrigation pond
Yeah,
a
it's
million
man-
years
it's a
ago.
man-made-
Oh, it
It's
is?
man-made.
That previous?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's literally a storm drain that runs right into
Okay.
it, and that's all it is. It's just a little spot for the roof leaders to drain to.
Okay,
Yeah. So it'd essentially be the same. I mean, if anything, we might be creating a little bit more
It was
habitat.
probably just dug deep enough to maybe break the water table surface, Cause that other area that's shown as a retention pond, with all the rain we had, that was dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Cause it's perfect drainage there, it's sand.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that little collection area, whatever it's called, that probably dug 50, 60 years ago when they built the building.
So the other aspects of our filings going forward procedurally on this are more administrative, not to say that they're, don't need to be looked at, but they're more administrative, where we wanted to come to the commission tonight and talk to you about our proximity to that isolated wetland, and make sure that you were comfortable with, the fact that we would be, at close proximity, but it's really, again, like I said, it's a little drainage area for the roof. That's really all it is.
And how close is it to?
We're showing it 25 feet from the edge of the previously flagged isolated vegetation.
Now, is this parking here gonna remain?
So all of this is, this is into about here. I believe the front parking lot was roughed in. This is not constructed yet. This would be ideally later this summer. And
aggressive.
this area is associated with the nursing home. This is yet to be paved, but that's all been previously approved under the special permit. This is the front of that building that you see out there. So, if we don't hear any real major concerns, then we would move forward with the filing of a notice of intent under the local bylaw. Probably have that in the weeks to come, and, ideally, maybe be on a June or whatever meeting. I think Mike's gonna tell me it's gotta be sooner than that.
Never.
That's my
Wouldn't
life.
do that.
That seems very
Sounds good to
good
me.
with
Yeah.
that.
see,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you very much
Yeah.
for your
Thank you
time,
very much.
appreciate it.
Appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Okay. Awesome.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. 45 years and,
I know, a long time.
yeah.
Michael had this big hair when you were in high school,
I did, I was the only white guy with an afro.
but I think you bought your
Big curly
first,
hair. Pardon me?
you bought your first piece of real estate in college,
I did,
yeah?
yeah, you have a really good memory.
Okay, we
Yeah,
got,
got into the business very, very early.
Yeah. It's
Look at him now,
Look at me
only
now,
10 years later.
gray hair now, Well,
Hey, at least you still,
sorry,
at least you still have it.
yeah, that's true, it's true. I'm fortunate in that way.
Notice I whispered that.
Well, again, thank you very much for your
Thanks.
consideration.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
Next one we need to do is take care of our outstanding orders of conditions.
All right.
Now Tanglewood first, let us just get that one over with.
So there's two of each, because we need one for our files and one for.
I can imagine.
Here, all those guys meetings afterwards? I do. Look at them first, or?
Yeah, regarding Tanglewood, I'm sure nobody got to see any of the changes that I put in. Okay, we do with the check marks, but essentially what I did was some additions.
Are
to
they
the-
coming back to the next meeting?
They're gonna notify us when they're gonna start doing this?
Oh, yeah, that's written in these conditions that they have to. One of the ones that were added is beyond our standard special conditions, all the debris fill shall be removed from the site and Conservation Commission shall inspect upon completion. One of the other things that wasn't done and it's submitted, and I think it's something that we really should have, and that's why I asked for it. A detailed site plan shall be provided to the commission showing proposed plantings, wall removal, proposed elevations, wetland and riverfront boundaries. The site plan shall be subject to approval by the commission.
I thought she said she was gonna do that. Okay.
She might have, but I don't know, I guess it's
I
just
haven't-
good to have it in writing, so we are getting a plan.
Yeah.
Trees shall be evenly spaced with red maples standing 5 to 8 feet and dogwood trees at 3 to 5 feet. Construction of a shed on the residential property shall not be allowed. Did we do that or just say he can't put it there where he wanted to?
I think that's what we said.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care if he puts it on the other side of his house,
Right.
by his garage.
He hasn't got much property on that side, though.
Yeah.
was the neighbors.
Well, their contention was that if they put it on the opposite side of the garage, it was gonna put it closer to the stream which runs behind the house.
Yeah.
Well,
But that area is actually higher than
Right.
the other side is right down.
And that area was the area that was previously developed. He had the fence that pretty much goes all the way up to the stream there, as opposed to putting this shed 12 feet away from the wetland.
So we removed the shed from.
Yes. Mhm.
I think there's also town bylaws about where you can put a shed.
There
that-
definitely is.
that
Yes, yes.
I think are gonna come into issue with the plan that he.
And the other one that's kind of a standard procedures thing too for when plantings are done, is planting shall require inspections for 2 growth seasons in order to have a certificate of compliance issued. But so essentially, those were the modifications that I submitted to 53 Tanglewood. Did anybody have any others? I'll entertain a motion to approve the orders of conditions for 53 Tanglewood.
so moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye. I am, it's just so, everyone's so happy tonight.
Did you find the signature page?
There's the signature, just keep those.
Yep. You want to- yeah, let's put them up right there.
Oh, this is, oh, that's gotta go that way.
Yeah, you can
That's
just make
just-
a pile over there and I'll
Well, I wanna get that back so we can put this,
what's next?
16, I guess, might as well start at the beginning.
wanna look those over.
Yeah, essentially, the 16 was the one, I put in a bunch of stuff. Again, starting at number 17, the existing asphalt may be removed from the site. Native vegetation must be planted outside the limit of work line, see attachment number 3. An adjustment shall be made to the limit of work line post-construction to increase from 20 feet to 25 feet. That actually needs to be lower than that. Because that's where, if you remember 16, and I think the asphalt's 10 feet away from the water. You know, where we were gonna
16 is the
allow,
house one?
yeah,
No, it's the one before the house.
before the house. yeah.
17 is the house one.
That needs to go to 10, but you can change that. Because it is pretty close, and it's just approximate. Erosion control shall be installed as close as possible to the existing impervious surface. The commission shall inspect the erosion controls prior to the removal of the impervious surface, even though that is kind of redundant. Upon removal of the impervious surface, flagging of the permanent limit of work line shall be done and markers installed, and markers and erosion controls. The applicant must submit the full subdivision plan for Hidden Ponds for the recording of the NOI. The one that's not in here, that it probably needs to go in about the 2 years for inspecting the plantings again. That is kind of a standard thing you're supposed to do for the 2 growth seasons. You can add that one, I'm just gonna put a note here, add for the plantings. That was all I put in on that. Any other comments from anybody on it? No? Entertain a motion to approve the orders of conditions for lot 16 at Hidden Ponds.
So
I'll move. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
17, I believe, was pretty much the same. Other than there really wasn't as much asphalt there.
I don't know if there was any.
Yeah. That's right, there wasn't.
Because that's behind the house.
I was gonna bring my TD thing. Anthony, that's an awesome signature, man. Look at that thing.
It is,
Thing's like a work of art.
it is.
Should put a frame around that
It's
thing.
going
Very
to my,
impressive.
that's going to my head, you know.
So that, this section with the asphalt stuff can come out, correct?
I don't think there's any
Yeah,
asphalt
it
behind
wasn't
Is that the
there.
one
there.
behind?
We don't even know where the asphalt line ends, because
Right,
it's
can't
it's all
really
covered
tell.
by
That's
grass.
the
Moss and stuff.
existing house there?
Then I guess it
Yes.
doesn't matter if we leave it in there. If
Yeah.
it isn't there, it isn't there, so let's
It's been
just
there
leave
for
it in.
100 years.
Yeah.
10,
Concrete,
10,
that's where
and
the
then,
diving board is, right?
so yes, and essentially then it's the same, but then we just need to add for the 2 years
Planting.
planting inspections. So with that added, I'll entertain a motion to approve Hidden Ponds Lot number 17.
So moved.
Second.
Excuse me.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Eighteen. Essentially, this was the one about, again, we're saying about the fence plan being submitted. The impervious surface ones can really go here, because there is none on 18. We can eliminate 17 and 18. And this one was just, yeah, we added reflagging and marking of 33% of the trees to remain. An inspection and approval by the commission. Anybody else have anything for lot 18?
No.
Nope. All right, good to go. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for lot 18 at Hidden Ponds.
Not the minutes, the.
I mean, the orders of conditions.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Park Street?
Why don't we just stay with Hidden Ponds?
Okay.
Yeah. The next one that we had was for lots 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 11. Specific to lot 11, as shown on the attached subdivision plan, the adjustment of the limit of work line is to be shown. And that was essentially where we
Made it straight.
took out a jog in there.
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion for approval of the conditions for lots 4 through 11.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Essentially, the next one was 2, 9, and 20. Specific to lot 19, as shown on the attached subdivision plan, the adjustment for the limit of work lines is to be shown. I'll entertain a motion for approval of lots 2, 9, and 11, orders of conditions.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next one was 12, 13, 14, 15. Actually, nothing was added to this one. I'll entertain a motion to approve the orders of conditions for lots 12, 13, 14, and 15.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Curve Street. I don't think I really had anything for this one. No, I didn't add any other conditions. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the orders of conditions for Purvis Street or whatever.
Purvis.
What is the correct
Purves.
pronunciation?
Purvis?
Purves?
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not just one.
so moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bottom of the pile, good.
The approval of minutes that we had.
Did you see my email, sorry?
I don't know how to ink this thing.
Was aware.
Yeah,
But thank you.
No, I sound like doctors right in it tonight.
yeah.
Yeah, those were the first one that's over there.
Yeah.
We have the minutes here.
I didn't make copies of them. I have a copy in case you did decide to approve them.
Do we have the regular minutes though? We didn't do those for,
No, they'll be ready for next meeting.
okay.
If there's anything that you'd like in the meetings in particular, I can try to get those done first and just give you a really quick draft. That's, the planning board does that sometimes when they have a decision to make and they need to review it ahead of time. So if there's certain cases that you want to see the minutes for, I will try to get those faster.
I would love it.
Okay, just
Yeah.
shoot me an
This is
email,
it
let
now?
me know.
Yep, that's
So
it.
far.
The only other one we had was, we cannot discuss it and deliberate it, but if anybody felt we should go to executive session for discussion and modification of the minutes to the executive session. Or are people prepared to vote on those right now?
I'm prepared to vote.
Bob?
I wasn't here for that.
You're right. Tony?
Okay.
You're okay to vote?
Yep.
Mary Ellen?
Sure.
I am.
I am.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the executive session minutes from April
So
10th.
moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Policies and procedures, I only had a couple things, yeah, I mean, getting things faster was great, other than I didn't get to enough stuff early enough, I was real busy these past couple weeks again, but, I know maybe the director should be here, but I'm assuming it didn't happen with the last one, but the policy of orders of conditions going to Mark Stinson before they come to us, I asked for that email a couple times, I've never seen it, but that just has to stop. If we want to send them to him, that's fine, but we should be able to get them at the same time. They shouldn't be going to Mark Stinson and then coming to us, because it just makes it hard, and we need to stay on top of getting these orders of conditions, you know, done within the 30-day period, or the 21-day period.
I agree.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. You know, and with those two, you know, it's, like when they came out this week, it's very difficult for me. Because I had a busy weekend and I had stuff going on, but to get the orders of conditions on Friday and have them reviewed and make comments and have it for the meeting on Wednesday and allow other people to submit comments or to review them, you know, can we get those in a week?
Sorry, I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is because we have a lot of work. And Bethany is trying to transcribe minutes. We get people come to the window, the phone is ringing.
We understand the multitasking
So-
thing.
No, but so I don't think this is what I think you all should be prepared to do. I think this will work. We are going, the applicant, we have a process where the applicant provides a copy of the notice of intent as well as the finding sheet, okay? You're sent that information. You do your site visits. You do your site visits at the time that works for you. You know, you'll go to the site. You should have in your materials a finding sheet. You know, go to the site, jot down your findings, bring that information back to the table. That's what you should be discussing at the table. You should go down that notice of intent, you know, and look at it. You should look at the findings and check off those boxes. You are the commissioners. Bethany and I do not have a degree in environmental science. So we are just processing your data. So if you give us material, we give you the special conditions, you jot down the special conditions that you want to see in that order of conditions, and then we enter the data. We prepare them for you. But if you can't come into the office to sign them and we have to bring them back, or we have to email them to you to proofread, and we're still not getting feedback until we come to the table again, we don't know if they're right. So it's a give and take. We prepare you, the applicant prepares you, we gather your information, and then we create the document that is submitted electronically. And then everything's on task, everything's on target. We're not going back and forth, we're not waiting. I think if we did it that way, we might be able to get it, you know, expedite the process.
I guess
But right now, our process is just,
talking
Maybe we
about,
could,
we're
maybe
talking,
we could, we already have a boilerplate,
yeah,
the
Yes.
one that we use, maybe we could,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
generally we'll write extra conditions.
you've
Right,
got your
and-
special, yep.
And then, I don't know, I suppose the only other thing we could do is maybe subtract certain special
Yeah.
These
conditions that are already on the boilerplate.
Yeah.
I'm
Like we
sorry.
just did on,
Yep. I'm sorry for the interrupt,
it's
but,
all right.
and these forms that we're talking about here, they really don't have a lot to do with the orders of conditions. Essentially, all we need to do is take our standard conditions, and then from the minutes of the meeting, that two people here taking notes or doing whatever for the meeting, take those, add them as a special conditions, because we discussed them. I mean, and that's exactly what happened with Redstone. You know, Bethany, you know, put these in there, pretty good, and okay, boom, done. So just adding these 3 or 4 conditions to our standard set of conditions, I struggle with why that can't happen in a week.
I think you can do that. I think you can do that. You're going to talk about them so you're making your motion, you're adding the special conditions, whatever you see fit.
Right, and we do.
We're not writing those special
Oh,
conditions
I know.
for you.
so moving forward, should we make our motion, we'll make our special conditions as boilerplated already by the commission with the additional special condition of X, Y, and Z.
Well, and that's exactly what we did on the last ones.
That may have been, it may have been implied, but I
You
don't
know,
think
there
it was
was,
spoken.
there was a bunch
So
of them,
moving
that's
forward,
what Bethany
we'll speak
did.
that.
She added from the minutes,
Right.
she added a couple, 3,
Well,
some
let me-
didn't have any, some only had 1. And, you know, that's
We're all
it. So it's just that little addition to our standard boilerplate. So that's why I'm asking you if that's all we're doing.
So
Can't we
if you-
get that in
someone-
like a week?
Maybe the clerk writes down those special conditions, passes them to us at the end of the meeting, and then we have that material. But don't forget,
Okay,
she's
I
leaving
see what
this-
you're saying. We can do
Good,
that
good.
then.
That's
That
wonderful.
would help me, because what I have to do is I have to go through the entire 3-hour meeting
Right.
and find the exact point when you state what you want special conditions to do.
Mhm.
And that's what the
Yeah,
I understand.
time-consuming
Yep.
part is.
So we're trying to
The
be
other one-
efficient. We're trying to get things
Maybe
out.
with, just for an idea, have an order of conditions and then we'll just jot notes on each specific case.
They're pretty standard.
Exactly.
Should
Then-
develop
then-
them.
They are-
then- And we could cross out and add
Mhm.
specific to each case.
Exactly,
We
and
can
like
come up
when we
with a formula to
have
do that. It's
applicants
easy.
who are going to be altering the terrain, you know, so many square feet of land, right? There's a section that discusses the cut and fill alteration terrain, I can't remember what, when you're removing earth, you know,
Changing grade.
or changing. We don't know those, you know, we don't know those numbers. It's actually up to the applicant to tell us how much, or you all, we can't do those calculations. We really don't, we don't know.
Yep.
So if, and we've had one applicant who made who made an error and then came back and said, I need this changed, and that held up the process for an additional period of time, and we had already done it. And she said, oh no, you made an error, you have to go back and fix it. Okay, well, we have to submit it again, because you can't, it's all electronic, it's not like you're submitting paper and you can go back and submit. So anyway, we want to be able to turn these around quickly and efficiently, but we want them right. And we don't know, sometimes, you know, the motion is changed a little bit. We want to make sure we get the right information so that the applicant doesn't come up to us and say, you made a mistake, or why was this way? And those boxes that you check off in the findings, those are important too, because they're not applicable, that's why there are different boxes to choose from. So we need to know which boxes you want us to check off in the findings.
And I added some of those, yep.
Yeah, so it's helpful.
Yeah, you know, that's a good point. The customer or the applicant, customer, is putting forth the conditions. Then we're adding our boilerplate conditions, and then the special conditions that we add on top of that.
Yep. The applicant then doesn't do
That's
the
gotta be tough for
conditions.
her to gather all that together. I can
It is,
understand
and,
that.
you know.
One of the other things that I mentioned,
Thank you.
Connie, but you were out of the room, was the procedure of, and I guess that's what I was getting in the emails, but I asked for them, but I didn't see the copy, the procedure of the orders of conditions go to Mark Stinson for his comment before they come to us.
The reason those were going, well, Bethany's predecessor, not our interim, always sent things to Mark. I don't know if you were aware of that. So,
Okay, well, that
Yeah.
procedure stopped then, I guess.
Okay,
Or if
so-
you want to send them to him, go ahead, but we need to get them at the same time.
okay, that's fine. We can certainly do that. And I don't think he really wants to spend the time reviewing them, frankly.
Yeah.
But again, we
I
had
don't
somebody who was
think Mark
processing
Stinson
the
wants them.
paperwork.
Did he copy it, did he comment at all on the last ones that we sent him?
I don't know.
He comments all the time.
Not on order, I haven't, never seen a comment from him on
He
orders of
comments on the notice
conditions.
of intent. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. The DEP comments on the notice of intent. Those are those,
Right, well, yes, he always does that when he issues a file number.
yes, yes.
But that's where, well, you said that with the orders of conditions, that they go to him.
We were sending him the draft because frankly, again, that's what was being done. We were just following suit.
Okay, well, so,
And,
but if we're doing that, and I asked, and I guess, well, that's where what I was struggling with, I asked if I could have those at the same time that Mark Stinson gets them, and my response was no. We don't get them until he responds.
well, if that's what you want, then we will do that.
Absolutely, there's no reason for us to be waiting for Mark Stinson, I don't think.
Yeah, because who knows when he's gonna get to them.
No,
He's usually pretty
And like I
good
said,
about
I've
turning
never
it.
seen, I asked for his comments for Hidden Ponds, and I did not get to see them, and I don't recall ever seeing a set of comments from him on an order of conditions.
If he
But
sends
anyway,
email
so let's
back,
just,
we send them on to you. Whatever he sends to us, we forward to you.
Yeah, we've gotten them.
for notices of intent, yes. Orders of
Yeah.
conditions, no.
No, but if he
I've
chimes
I've
in.
I've never seen them. But anyway, okay.
He's basically
Let's
throwing
move
his
on.
input in
The other one,
prior to us giving them those.
I had a few other ones, but it's gonna be nice to get out a little bit early this evening. The other one that I wanted to bring up, and obviously if anybody else wants to, the system that we're using for the certified mails, where we're filling out the envelopes and doing all that, and we've got the return receipt requested. And we hear that we're busy, and I just wonder why we're doing that when the applicant is supposed to.
What are you
And,
talking about?
Oh, do you mean the butter notification?
Your butter notice?
Yeah.
No, we send those out.
Why?
So let me tell you, the reason we mail them out, but the applicant pays the postage is because the applicant would send out these general letters with no date, no time, no place, simply watch the paper because there's going to be something going on in your neighborhood, okay? And we get phone calls about a particular area. This happened last fall on one of the projects, and we were getting phone calls because abutters had received this notice, and we had no idea what they were talking about. No idea what was going on. So we send the letters out, we know they're going out, we provide the date, time, and place. It's good for notification purposes, promoting transparency in government. Everybody gets the information, nobody's calling us up and saying, when is this going on, what's going on, tell us about this, because we have no idea and we look like fools. So, in the interest of promoting professional office and service that is professional and founded, so that we have accurate information that we can share and saying, instead of saying, I have no idea what you're talking about, we send the notice out. And then we can take the phone calls and we can explain to people. Either way, the applicant pays the postage.
I understand that. And I guess my,
What's the point?
number one, there's a less expensive way to do it, so it's better for the applicant. And number two, the applicant can do all the mailings, and I hear what you're saying for your reasoning, but
What is the less expensive way to do this?
the applicant shall provide written notice to all abutters required to be notified by hand delivery or certified mail, return receipt requested, or by certified mailing. The applicant shall present either the certified mail receipts or certificate of mailing receipts for all abutters. So if you're just getting the certificate of the receipt, that's a lot less expensive than the return receipt requested.
That's all we get are the little, we don't get the green cards. We don't do the green cards. We just do the certified, because you can check online to see that something's been delivered.
Okay.
Everything has a number.
Okay.
Okay?
But I guess, you know, when it's, I hear what you're saying, but then again, I hear that we're busy all the time. Why are we doing it? Let the applicant do it, but
Because we want to
I-
make sure
I-
it gets done in a timely fashion, Craig.
yeah, well, they have requirements when it has to be done, but I guess we'll just leave it to bylaw for something to think about, or the
No, you know, we're going to
regulation.
continue to do this the way that we've been doing it as a process, because then we're not double checking, we're not waiting for them to
Mm-hmm.
send us. Please send us a photocopy of all the little green sheets that you have, the certified receipts, not the certified return, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that we can have it in our, we're not chasing down people, we know it's done, and
Okay.
it's done correctly. And then the letters that are returned, they come to us. And we know that an abutter hasn't been notified, goes right in the file, and in the event that we're challenged by an abutter who says, we didn't receive notice, and we're waiting on the applicant to dig up that letter, we can say, oh no, Mrs. Smith, it actually went to your house. But,
Okay,
okay?
mm-hmm,
All right, we good?
I'm good. Anybody have anything else?
I have one question. So when we require for a notice of intent, or for any project going forward, we require them to put permanent markers. Do we have a requirement as to what the permanent marker, like the size, the height, like, I'm just thinking with all of these violations we're seeing, if we could require something that's a little more,
I think there is a standard size, and it's supposed to protrude 6 inches above the ground.
Right.
I mean, is there any way you could
Permanent
require
markers?
them to be more,
I'm pretty sure
Visible.
it's in there. It's gotta be either round concrete or square concrete.
Yeah. it's-
or
and down
some way, I
2
mean,
feet.
is there any way to
Yeah, I
require
think
any
there's
more than that?
leeway.
Because people just look at it and don't think it's,
Well,
Yeah, but we're, how, yeah.
Well, yes,
There's
I'm
leeway
gonna
as to
say,
what you can install,
yeah, but
but I mean, how obtrusive do you want to become? I mean,
well, one of the things that, you know, we were at a previous meeting when Mark Stinson was here, and he came in and showed the signs.
right,
I think
mean,
Redstone Drive, we can do that.
I think those signs need to be on
Absolutely. I think it
Redstone
would be a
Drive.
great thing. Put those signs up there. Yeah.
So the applicant should be paying for them, not the department.
Right,
So
so it's
you
different,
probably-
it's not us educating, it would be part of the plan, you know. I just think it's something to think about whenever anything comes
I
before
can-
us, because I'm seeing all these violations where people are saying, oh, I had no idea. Maybe if we required something a little more,
Well,
Substantial.
and I would almost think in that case, you know, we got our thing, we have $59,000 in the bank. I would think we could buy those signs, but the applicant is still responsible to provide this type of a marking post, and yes, and he can attach the sign that we give them to him.
Why
I can't
should
believe
you-
those signs would be,
let them buy them.
Yeah, why should you expend money from the account that can be used for better things besides signs when the applicant should be paying for those things? This is not, you give an awful lot, you have to understand that the onus is on the applicant to provide documentation and information.
we do understand that.
No, I'm just, okay, so poor choice of words, but the applicant should be required to purchase those. And maybe we look at MACC and see if there isn't something, I know, like you said, Mark had provided those signs that one of the other communities had used. I know in New Hampshire, we had them, they would go out the Conservation Commission would flag all of the wetlands, the permanent markers, using the town that I lived in and worked in, rather. So I know that they're out there and I know that it's acceptable. The one caveat is though kids like to take them and put them on their wall in their room. You know what I mean? They like to steal them. So, you know, you'd have to kind of monitor that every now and then. And in your special conditions, you would want to state, and the applicant shall provide markers that can be clearly seen, clearly visible. And
I seem to recall reading somewhere, I don't know if it's a subdivision control law or somewhere, that there is a standard marker. They either have to be round or square, and I remember reading they have to protrude at least 6 inches above the ground.
that's meets and bounds. Those are meets and bounds. Those are permanent meets and bounds. Those are boundary markers, not,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, I think though, on the, like, the limit of work, I think that it's discretionary.
But,
A lot of people use lolly columns,
but I've
so that
seen,
becomes like a practice, but I don't know that it's
I
necessarily
know,
standard.
I've seen some of the surveyors when they go out and do lots, or like Dan O'Brien, when he went out and did 176 Chestnut, he put in new visible markers that were round, protruded 6 inches above the ground to mark the limited of work line, and painted them orange, so they were clearly visible. And on 101 Old Farm, because of the bobcats and everything else that were back there, I'm surprised Rob found them, because they obliterated the ground completely. And I said, you know, the green fence line was pretty much what I assumed was, by looking at the original plan, what the limit of work line was.
But I mean, we could require whatever we want in order of conditions,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
no matter what it tends to be used,
Yeah.
if we, or you could make a town bylaw that, you know, conservation markers in town shall
Yeah.
be. I just think, I mean, we've seen people come forward innocently, not knowing, I had no idea that this was, that I wasn't allowed to do this. And I believe it was innocent, you know, that maybe if we made it a little bit easier for people to know in some way by using signage or more larger markers, or, you know, that we might avoid some, you know, people being upset that they are now gonna have to, you know.
It's all about memorialization. That's why, you know, when we ask for certain documents to be uploaded to the documents that are recorded at the Registry of Deeds, it's so that there's a reference. And I think that it would be, I would highly recommend that you seek some way to permanently show where these markers are, and require that some sort of maintenance be addressed through the years, so that 20 years later, people aren't chopping down
Right.
trees because they missed them.
Right, because they will, because we've
Yes,
seen, that's what
we've-
happens.
You're coming around to, you're at a point now where a lot of these subdivisions are maturing, and times change, and boards changed, and the institutional knowledge is lost, and the only way you can recall is if you memorialize physically somehow.
I think somewhat unobtrusive, like the states will use them, Army Corps,
Yeah.
they'll use little placards, either triangular or diamond shaped. They're small, they can, you know, be yellow, orange. I suppose they can be blue depending.
We
And just a little signal that says, you know, this is the area that demarcates conservation from upland.
We'll see where those, the photos, I have them in my file at my desk. I'll see where they came from and see if, and we'll get that information back
Right, I
to
mean,
you
if you
next
don't want
meeting.
some sort of ugly
Yeah, you don't
fluorescent
want- you
sign,
don't-
there
Get
could be a
something,
way, but I think
a
it should almost
placard.
say something, yeah, that
Yeah, they
it
make
should
'em.
say
You
something
can
on it, so
find 'em.
that,
They're
because
out
if
there,
someone just
yeah.
sees a concrete, they don't know what that means,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah, I don't think the ones that Mark had were even this big. I think they were smaller. You know, they
We'll look,
Yeah,
we'll check
they
into
make them
it.
for-
would
I
have
think
been like,
it's
they might have
something
just
we
been
should
like
think
this
about.
big, had a little picture of a tree on it and something. It wasn't obtrusive or offensive by any means. I thought they were great. But yeah, I mean, we can ask for things, but, yeah, like you said, you have to change a bylaw if we're changing costs dramatically to an applicant.
But if we, so
Yeah, we
you
just
would
put it
need a
as a special
bylaw,
order
or
of
we could put it in
conditions.
the order of conditions that you
Yeah.
need a limit of work line that,
You know, I was talking to my former colleague in New Bedford today to ask them, to get some information. They have a land stewardship department. And I said, do you charge fees for anything other than your notice of intent? She started laughing at me. She said, we charge a host of administrative fees. And it's actually in their ordinance, and it doesn't stipulate how much, and that's something we have to re-examine, is our fee schedule that's contained within the body of our bylaw that we started to move forward with.
I thought we moved the fee schedule external for,
They're
not for
waiting on-
everything, but
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
it's supposed to be
So-
for everything.
But,
Didn't we
Correct.
move it external of the bylaw?
do you want to give them an update on your?
It's same as the last time we talked about this here. I went to one bylaw committee meeting because, and that's what they asked about. And essentially, all I did there was forward that other form that I got from Mark Stinson, which is the form that most of the communities, I forget the form number, it's the form that most of other communities have adopted. And then I was done with the bylaw committee.
All right, but if it's not in the bylaw though, we can add a fee schedule of our own for administrative costs.
Yeah,
That,
And that's
that
what-
can be our own fee schedule.
because what you can do in regard to having this administrative schedule, once you have a pool of money, then you have funds available to bring on a staff person that is specifically for the needs of the Conservation Commission. And I think that that's.
An agent.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And it can be part-time. We saw an ad come through the listserv this week, and they were looking, one of the communities was looking for a part-time conservation agent, 2 years minimum requirement with a degree in environmental science, and then I think 3 additional years of other experience, or a length of time they had to show. But they were 19 and a half hours, and the salary range was like $20 to $23 an hour for part-time. So, you know,
I told you I'm on board with hiring an agent because we have a pretty good workload now. And
It's been something that's been on the agenda for years, but it's never made it into the budget.
And God knows what we're missing, you know, if you were hired a professional.
I agree.
So it might be something to look at moving forward. Team up with Long Meadow or Hamden or Wilbraham or all of the above.
yeah,
Because I don't think any of them have an agent.
I think you're correct.
But I think that they would be receptive to one if it was shared. And then build in administrative fees into a fee schedule, and you could even hire them like a per diem basis to start.
You could send things out for review, for peer review. You could start that way too, where
Could we
you,
use?
And that we need to get the bylaw changed in order to continue to do that.
in order to actually really do that in a realistic, yeah, so that it's feasible for everybody.
Because you're talking about two different.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we've just,
I'm not, I guess, I think I'm not really in favor right now of raising our administrative fees. I think it costs applicants now
it
a
costs them
lot
nothing.
more money with all the extra copies and
Doesn't
everything
cost
else
them anything, really.
that they're bringing in.
Other than their environmental scientists.
Yeah, Craig, what do you think he paid, what do you think was just paid to that consultant? Don't say it, but that consultant is getting paid. We're doing work here, we're processing their paperwork.
I understand.
And you want response time to be more efficient. Well, in order to do that, you know, there are only so many hours in the workday, and there just aren't enough hours in the workday. So, you know, we realize, I've been here a year, and I realize we really should have another support person dedicated to the needs of the Conservation Commission that can produce the enforcement order. Do you know how many hours I spent on those enforcement orders that we've done? I did research, I had to do the deed research, I had to dig up all of them. Who do you think did the deed and title research to find out if there was?
I understand.
Yeah, but,
It's the job.
yes, but, yes, it's the job, but we have 3 boards that we are administrating
I know.
for. okay?
We're all well aware of that,
The
we've
Conservation
heard it.
Commission, if we divide it equally, 12 and a half hours a week is with the Concom, the ZBA,
So
and
we
the
probably
planning
do
board.
need another
Yeah.
person to.
And so we borrow, so we borrow when the ZBA is not meeting, we borrow from the ZBA's hours, so we work it that way, and,
Well, I would assume we're doing that very often. ZBA met 3 times last year.
no, ZBA met more time than that, or at least the meetings were scheduled, but the meetings ended up getting canceled for one reason or another, so we're preparing
Okay.
for the meeting, and then, oops, can we request a continuance or whatever, so we're still preparing.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.